Right, so a little bit about me. Like I said, my name's Nicole. I'm a buyer and retail coach. I've got 18 years experience working as buyer for companies like Primark, Marks and Spencer's, Debenhams, Asda, and these are businesses that are based in the UK. Some of them have a global reach. So Primark is, if you're based in the States, a bit like Target, or a mix between Target and H&M. M&S is like a family department store, I suppose you could call it, family chain. Sorry, it's not a department store, multiple chain. And Asda is like Walmart. So more grocery, but they have a fashion element as well. I've worked across multiple product categories, so lingerie, footwear and accessories, health and beauty, homewares. So I've got a broad range of experience there. What I now do is I help entrepreneurs start and scale their product businesses. I do that through one-to-ones, virtual or in person, through power hours, strategy sessions, strategy days. I also offer a done-for-you service. So if you don't have the time to do certain things in your business, I come in, help you get those done. And I have a podcast as well called Start, Scale, Succeed, which helps entrepreneurs start and scale their product business. So I'll be referring to that for some things that are going to help you throughout the session. And I've often spoken on TV and on trade fairs about lots of different things to do with retail and business and product businesses. So without further ado, let's get going. So why do you want to wholesale? Well, there's four things: the why, the where, the how, and the when. But the why, we're going to look at the pros and cons of wholesaling. We're going to look at the where, which retail formats are good for you, are the right for you. How, what do you need to have in place and where to find the contacts, and when. So looking at when buyers are looking for products. So first of all, why? Well, you're going to reach a wider audience. You're going to increase your sales. You're going to increase your volume of orders, which is going to help you be in a better position to negotiate with your suppliers, and you're going to get more exposure. On the opposite side of that, you're going to have less control of your stock. So if a retailer brings in your product and it doesn't work for them or they want to mark it down, they can mark it down. You will make less margin. So whether you're working in a marketplace, whether you're working with a retailer, everyone needs to make their share, make it worthwhile for them. So you'll make less margin, obviously, than you're working directly to consumer. And sometimes you may face cancellations. So, and I just wanted to put this in here. This isn't a common thing, but say if you were a bridal company during the pandemic, obviously all weddings were cancelled, all that, and if you were a boutique and you had lots of wedding dress orders, they may, then they would want to cancel those with the brands. So it's just something to think about in terms of with your contracts and if you're dealing with the retailers and big orders on certain products, what's your cancellation policy and payment policies. But before you decide to wholesale, how are you setting your prices? So this is the key thing. The number one thing first that you need to do is to make sure that you're set up right for wholesale from a pricing point of view. If you don't make enough margin, then you're going to be a busy fool, and the boutique may not make enough margin as well, so they may not be interested in taking your brand on. So you need to make sure that you've got the right prices for your products. So how do you do this, or a way that you're going to look at this as well, is look at the competition in the market. Do your research. Who are the competitors? What are their price points? Who are their stockers? How in demand is your product? How unique is it in the market? And what is it that makes you different? So, you may decide before you go to retailers that you're going to actually restructure your whole, based on maybe doing this research, that you're going to restructure some of your prices anyway. So that's what one of the things I want you to do. Then think about where your brand is positioned, and I want you to think about your packaging. So where is your brand positioned in the market? So are you entry price point? Are you mid price point? Are you high price point? How does your branding reflect that? Is there anything that you want to change or tweak before you go out to retail? And your packaging, is it fit for retail? Is it fit for going on the shelf? So I know that a lot of you will be clothing brands, but if you are if you're a homewares brand and, you have candles, are they in nice boxes? Do they say what the fragrances are? How eye-catching is the packaging? Is it fit for purpose? Is it strong enough? Is it robust enough to be on a shop shelf, a store shelf, and to be handled by consumers? And just thinking about, if you're a clothing brand, do you have tags? Do you have barcodes? All those kind of things in SKUs. so that your product can be scanned. How much profit do you want to make? So you're obviously not going to take into cost just your cost of goods. By the time it takes you to do the admin, the pack the products, everything, this is all time and money. But in terms of what goes into a price, you've got your raw materials and your fabric, your labor costs, your labeling and trims, your packaging, any kind of exchange rates. You want to factor them in a way, and your transport costs. So if you're buying product in from China, or if your items are getting manufactured in India, China, or another part of the US or the UK or Europe, wherever it may be, are you calculating any shipping and insurance costs that and duty costs that you have to absorb to bring the product in? That all needs to go into your cost of goods. Also, if you're making the products yourself, if you're making the products yourself, then you need to be thinking about a labor cost that's going in those as well, because as you grow, you would need to outsource some of that labor. So you would have to pay for it. Now, some people think, oh, but buyers aren't going to need my product. I don't really want to approach them. Do they really want my brand? Yes, they do. They need choice and variety. They want to offer the choice and the variety to their customers. They want to attract new audiences. You might fill a gap for them. So a supplier may have let them down. A brand may have let them down. They might have been over trading and have sold a lot of their stock. So they need new stock. Buyers and retailers need your products. Like I said, they might want to attract a new audience. If you've already established brand and you have a certain demographic that they want to have more of on their website, or to attract more into their bricks and mortar store, yours is a good option for them to stock. They have budgets that they need to meet each month, each year, each season, and they need your brands and your products to help meet those budgets. Also, if they want to trial certain styles, if they want to get into a trend in a way that's low risk for them without them having to invest maybe in an own brand range, then buying in a brand is a good way to do this. So what do you do now? Maybe get your phone ready and probably screenshot this because it's got some kind of maths on it. I want you to check your retail prices and your cost prices and work out your profit margins. Depending on where you want to be stocked, you'll need approximately a 70 to 85% profit margin. And so to work out your retail margin percentage, you take your retail price minus your cost of the product, divide it by your retail price, and multiply that by 100. And then retailers, buyers, depending on the product type, need between a 2.1 to a 2.8 markup on your wholesale prices to them. But I would also always ask, what's the markup that they need? Because they might need a little bit less. They might need a little bit more. So it's good to kind of be able to get a feel, depending on your product industry, the expectation might be lower or higher as well. So just using that as a guide. But I've just done a little example here. So for example, you buy your item for $2.50, including shipping. So it lands in the country. All of your costs included are $2.50. And you sell it to the consumer for $12. Your margin percentage is 79%. This is based on doing the retail price minus the cost price divided by the retail price by 100. You sell to your buyer at $5, making a $2.50 profit or a 50% margin. They retail it at $12. So the markup that's on the product is 2.4. So for example, that's $5 times 2.4 equals a $12, because you've already stated that it's a $12 retail price. They may decide they want to make it a little bit less. They might decide that they're going to sell it at a tenner, at $10. But, generally, if you have a recommended retail price, they will sell it at your recommended retail price. Now, where to wholesale? So if you've got any questions on that math side of things, pop them in the chat where Nicole can hopefully answer, or pop them in the Facebook group and I will get back to you on it. So where do you want to wholesale? Now, think about what your business objectives are and how you are set up as a business right now. Where do you want to see your products and who is your ideal stockist? So if you think, when you're doing your visioneering and you're manifesting and you're thinking, right, okay, I'm going to walk into Bloomingdale's and I'm going to go to the whichever floor and I'm going to see my products there. Who's your ideal stockist? I want you to make a note. And if you can't do it now or you're not sure now, just take some time after this and go, where do I really want to see my product? How much control and exclusivity do you want of your brand? So is it a brand that you are happy to be sold in many, many places, and that you don't want to be more discerning with who it's going to and where you're stocking, where it's being stocked? How much control do you want over it? And are you set up for larger orders, and could you fulfill these if they were placed? There's nothing wrong if you can't. You just need to make sure that you do not overpromise and underdeliver. So if a large retailer says to you, oh my God, Jane, I absolutely love your range of shirts. I want 10,000 units in across sizes for next week. And you make them locally, and there's just no way you're going to be able to fulfill that order. So they would probably already know that from the conversations. So, you just need to not overpromise and understand, be clear in terms of, yeah, I can get you the 10,000 units, but it's going to be in 3 months' time. Or I can get you 2,000 units now, 2,000 units in 3 weeks' time, 2,000 units in 4 weeks' time, whatever it might be. And then how much do you want wholesale to be part of your total business? And you might not know that yet, but it's just something to think about, from a profit point of view and a margin point of view. It will eat into your profit margin, but obviously it's a great income stream for you to have. Now, where do you want to wholesale? So you can think about boutiques, department stores, and multiple chains. So great place for you to start, particularly with the boutique side, because maybe they are owner run, maybe more accessible in terms of being actually able to speak to someone on a phone or get a right contact in terms of from an email address. You might want to be in a department store. You might want to be in a multiple chain. So it's a good way, like I said, for you to build your business. It does take a lot of time, and just, wholesale is not a, okay, I'm going to contact everyone this week and they're all going to get back to me, and then I'm going to be stocked in 10 places next week. That's not going to happen. It is something that you need to just consistently chip away at, and you will get there. And the reason so this graphic is my podcast, Start, Scale, Succeed. And this lady, Kate, is the founder of Wild Source Skincare. And Kate was very lucky to be stocked at, not lucky, she's a beautiful product. She's worked very hard on it, to be stocked in Liberty's, which is a gorgeous destination department store in London. If you're ever in London and you have the opportunity, make sure that you have a look and shop in Liberty's. And she contacted them. We talk in the podcast, and I said, how many times did you actually contact Liberty? And she said it was embarrassing. She said it was probably 15 to 20 times that she ran out of, she ran out of ways that she could introduce the email. I'm just checking in. Did you see that I've done X, Y, Z? Or I've noticed that you're focusing on ABC in this month or whatever. We'd be a great fit for that, but she did. And she then began being stocked in Liberty. And this Christmas she was in the Liberty Advent Calendar. So her product, which is a beautiful, one of those is a beautiful facial oil, was stocked in the calendar this Christmas, which was thousands and thousands and thousands of units. But it was that persistence and consistency of reaching out that many times and keeping a track of what she was doing and who she was speaking to, and what the kind of update was that that got her into Liberty. If she'd given up on call 1, call 10, email 8, it wouldn't have it wouldn't have happened. So that is podcast episode 69 on Start, Scale, Succeed. So take a listen to that when you're on your run or in the car or wherever you want to listen to it. It's on Apple and Spotify. Then think about your marketplaces. So places like Faire, Anchor Store, Creo 8, depending on your product type, one may be better or for you than another. They do take a commission, and if I use Faire as an example, their commission on the first order is 25%, and then it's less after that. And if you bring in buyers to the platform, then I think it's 0% commission. But this podcast episode is with Lucy Jeffrey, who is the founder of Fairkind, which are a sustainable stock brand. And we talk about Faire quite a bit, and marketplaces and working with marketplaces in this podcast, episode 73. And Lucy this year turned over 100,000 with Faire, and on just a 4% commission on that total 100,000. So She said it's very easy to deal with, and she drives all of her wholesale buying and wholesale clients through that marketplace now. And then you've got trade fairs. So you'll be able to access several buyers all at one time. However, the cost of the stands are expensive. And what I would really recommend is going to that trade fair first to make sure it's the right fit for you, checking the location, looking at the size of the stands and kind of visualizing what your brand would look like there, seeing what the setup is like, what the level of visual merchandising is like. It's not just the cost of the stand that you need to think of, it's the cost of the stand, it's the cost of kitting the stand out, staffing the stand for the day if it's you and another person, or if it's just you, so just definitely go to understand which is the right one for you and go and visit it beforehand if you can. And now, since the pandemic, a lot of trade fair websites are have a lot more information on them. So you can, if you're thinking of a trade fair for next year, you can check out the website. You can see all the people who exhibited. Are they similar brands to you? Are they in a similar kind of price point or similar kind of customer or similar aesthetic, to understand if it's the right fit for you. So make a list of where you want to see your products, investigate which marketplaces might be right for you, if that format is right for you, and then check to see which are the suitable trade fairs for you. Create a Google spreadsheet and keep this all in one place that you can refer back to. So, and another good reason for this is as you grow, this might be something that you want to delegate to somebody else, or that you want someone to share with, so they know who you've spoken to last, who you've chased last, where the contacts are, so keep a wholesale tracker in a Google spreadsheet. Then how do you do it? So now you've decided on your prices, you know which retailers that you want to target. These are your next steps. So first of all, connect with your retailers, start connecting on social media with them, LinkedIn, start trying to build that rapport and making your list of who you want to approach. Decide on what your wholesale range is going to be. So if you have a very, very broad range, you might not put everything in. You might decide, I'm going to create a capsule range, or you might decide, you know what, I know that these products don't make enough margin for me, so I'm not going to include them in wholesale. Ensure you have great images of your products. So both some editorial images if you can, and some product shots. And then what you want to do is create a wholesale PDF. And I've got some visuals that I'm going to share with you in a minute. But I would get your phone and screenshot this. So what to include in your wholesale PDF about you and the brand, what's your story, your brand values, amazing imagery, like I said. If any of your products have won awards, call them out in whatever way you can. If you're already stocked in places, if you're shouting about sustainability as part of your message, what are your sustainability credentials? If you've used influencers, try and incorporate that in some way. You'll also have a line list that you'll do. This won't be part of your wholesale PDF, but you'll send both at the same time to whoever the contact is that you want to speak to. What are your lead times? So if it's 3 weeks after order, a week after order, if it's made to order, it's 12 weeks after order, whatever it might be. And then the contact details and how they're paid, how you pay them or how they pay you. So here's just some examples. So this is a beauty brand, but beautiful imagery on the front page, talk about their mission, their values, and then they go into detail on some of the product. Now, because this is a beauty brand, they've gone into quite a lot of detail. But in terms of overall and the size of your PDF, don't have it it doesn't have to be War and Peace. So don't have one page for every single product. I know they have done here, but I think they've only got about 4 products. So it doesn't need to be this massive thing. I wouldn't go more than 15 pages. People who, if they're running a boutique, they are probably wearing many hats. They don't have time to go through all of this. If they are a buyer in a large retail store, they don't have time to read through everything that you're going to send them. So you need to make it kind of snappy. You need to make it visual. You need to make it stand out. So again, here's some examples. This is a different brand, but they've said, who are our customers? What are their habits? What do they prefer? What products they like? And then they have a product snapshot. So they've got a lot more products than this, but they've included a product snapshot. So something like that might be then the buyer or the boutique would get in touch and be like, oh, our customer is XYZ. What range would you recommend for us to take. And then they, you know, you as a brand could be like, okay, for that, I would suggest A, B, and C. And here we've got, again, a different brand, their story, some product images, their environmental commitments. Again, another brand, customer reviews included, what the mission is, the stockists and the awards that they've won, and then a product. So these are snippets I've taken from different pages of PDFs. And then you want to create a line list. And sometimes depending on you know, how you are. So you might include the ratio. You would include maybe the ratio that you're selling them in. If you want to sell a specific ratio, you might say you can buy any ratio you want, but you have to buy a minimum of 12 or a minimum order value of $1,000 or £1,000 or a minimum order value of 500, whatever it might be. But here again, it's just the line list is a simple kind of Excel spreadsheet. You might also put on, it doesn't have it here, but you might have put on, if you've got varying pack sizes, you might put on what your pack sizes are. If you can do whatever pack size someone wants, you might put that up at the top as well. And then you've got your suggested retail prices, and I would list what your payment terms are as well. And you generally work pro forma, so paid up front on your first orders, or maybe continuously until you've developed a good relationship with them, or unless you're dealing with big retailers. Big retailers would expect something like, it can be anything between 30, 60, 90 or 120 days sometimes. So it's an important question to ask if you're working with big retailers, what their payment terms are. And but I do know smaller brands who have had big orders from department stores, and they've been more flexible to work with a smaller brand, and they've maybe paid deposits, or they've maybe paid in a much quicker time frame because they're dealing with a smaller brand. So there's something that I know that worked with Selfridges, which is a department store in the UK, and they paid a deposit for their orders, which wouldn't be the norm for a large retailer. So then you need to think about, how can people buy from you? So what your ordering process will be, how will they place the orders? So there's a couple of different ways. You can have a specific wholesale section on your website, which they might have, or a Shopify platform, and they'll have a code to access it. They may shop your website normally, as you know your normal consumers do, but then they have you've given them a code to get a discount of 40% or whatever you've agreed to. They might have an order form, which they just email you, or they might just simply put it in an email. Depending, again, you know, if you're talking about a boutique, they might say, and you haven't got it set up, they might say, based on, you know, from the PDF, can I have 10 of the rose candle, 10 of the blueberry candle, whatever it might be. Or they might, you know, fashion, they might do it. Same kind of thing. But it all, you know, you can have it set up whichever way you want. If you're dealing with a large retailer, they'll have their own way of purchasing and for you to receive your order. So they'll send you a purchase order, which you would then probably need to put on your invoice so everything can be tracked and you can get paid. So before you approach your retailers and your boutiques, I want you to do a bit of research. Who else they stock? Where do you think the gaps are? What do you do that they don't have? What kinds of retail prices are the products that are similar to yours, and how do you compare? Also, does it make sense for your product to be in their store? Because if it doesn't, you know, if their customer wouldn't expect to see something like that, if it's not a right fit, then you're probably going after the wrong retailer, the wrong boutique, the wrong brand. You know, just check out their social medias. There's something that they're talking about that you could use as a hook in terms of the communication, or you could bring into communications. It makes them think, oh, this person has done their homework. They know about us as a business. When I was working in Primark, you know, if I had brands that hadn't gone in to see the shop floor and know what we were about, you know, that makes me think, well, if they've not done their homework about that, what else is going to be missing? So decide on your wholesale range and your prices. Check your photography is of a good quality standard. Create your wholesale PDF and create your line list. And think about which retailers you're going to target out to, and if any of the marketplaces are right. Now, when? So when do you wholesale? You can approach buyers, boutiques all the time. You know, you can do it as part of your, weekly task that you do put aside every Friday morning or every Wednesday morning. I'm going to target and reach out to buyers and retailers. What I would say, avoid Mondays, avoid phoning or getting in touch with anybody in retail on a Monday, because they will be doing sales, they will be in meetings, you just won't get answered anyway. And I think but in terms of, they will be buying from you at various times of the year. Generally, from a wholesale point of view, they may be buying 3 to 6 months ahead. But if you aren't that prepared and you don't have your ranges as far in advance as that, don't worry, because there'll be certain times when they have extra cash to buy in more brands, when maybe they've overperformed, or they're opening new ranges or new categories and they need more product in that. You may have a core range that you set, that's seasonless, that you sell all year. So that doesn't matter. It can fit into any time frame. So generally, bigger retailers will be buying more at more specific times of the year, but it's not always the rule. And it might just, like I said, it will vary depending on their stock needs. If they've had a fantastic, say something happens, they come in and January is amazing for them, February is amazing for them, and they've overperformed, they're going to need more brands. They're going to need more stock on the shop floor, because they won't be able to get it in quick enough from maybe the usual sources. So that's just something to be aware of. If you're already an existing brand, some of the questions and conversations that a buyer may ask you is, do you have a sales history? What are your best sellers? What they might kind of ask you, or what are your other kind of stockists take? So if you're going to someone like a supermarket and you're already stocked in a supermarket, they might say, what average a week do they sell on something like this? But if you're not already stocked somewhere, don't worry, don't let that put you off approaching people. They might want to know, have you been featured in the press? If you're launching a product, what kind of marketing launch plan have you got? Are you approaching influencers? What are the things that you're doing to help promote the brand? And then, do you have samples of your products that you can leave with them? And larger retailers will need these for meetings as well anyway. And they may be questions about sustainability, or, what are you doing from an ethical point of view? How are your goods manufactured? These are just some questions that could come up as you get further down the line, or just that they might be interested in knowing. So what next for you? So I know that's a lot that we've gone through. I hope you've taken your screenshots and you've got your notes. But there's a couple of things that you can do now. So follow me on Instagram at the Buyer and Retail Coach. I always give a lot of tips, and there's also a link to my newsletter in that as well, because I send out lots of tips weekly and monthly as well. What I've got for you is a nice little treat, is if you create your wholesale pitch deck and email it to me, Nicole at thebuyerandretailcoach.com, I'll record a free 5-minute feedback video to give you some pointers and advice. I'll also add you to my email list. And another thing that you can do is listen to my podcast, Start, Scale, Succeed, for more tips and advice. Like I said, it comes out weekly every Thursday. I'm on episode, I think, about 79 now. So there's a lot of back episode that you can listen to. But I hope you really enjoy the rest of the session. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Don't be afraid of wholesale. Don't hold back. It's a great opportunity for you. I want you to set yourself up for success.